Howdy and aloha, fellow actors. Coming to you today from the BSR Surf Resort. I managed to fit in a session today. It was actually a really good session. I'm having the 3 sessions I've had so far this season, a much better season so far than I did last year. First season was great, lots of growth. Second season, complete mixed bag. This season so far, starting off comfortably and more consistently. And I had a great session today. And I just managed to bag, after 2 seasons, managed to bag my first usable, shareable surf clip. So, you know, I can pick it apart. I'm not completely happy with it, but it is shareable, and it's pretty cool to me. So if you're on the channel, I've uploaded it already. So check out that surf clip. It's very brief, but that's just part of the fun that I have very much. So this video today, you actors out there, is going to be my basic tips on auditioning. And we're talking specifically live auditions for casting director, producer, or a combination thereof. More and more recently, we are experiencing virtual auditions as actors being put on tape, and that is a completely different bag of worms. It's something that I'm still getting used to. My experience is just much more with the live in-person auditions over the years, and the virtual auditioning is something that I'm still kind of getting used to. I will have in another video some specific tips and tricks that I've learned doing taped auditions, and that's just from my experience and also based on a coach that I respect very greatly who knows a lot about this, and I'll share more of that later. But I just want to give some basic tips on auditioning in person, and also I'll give another video at some point on the more technical aspects of auditioning in front of a camera, auditioning with a reader. It can be very technical. When I started my career, it was just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, just going on gut instinct and whatever God-given gifts and talents that I had. And I did okay with that. I did relatively well with that. It was not until I got into an auditioning on camera or on-camera audition class with a coach who specifically focused on the audition process that I realized that acting for an audition is a completely different beast than actually acting on set and actually being in a film. Even still to this day, I get butterflies, my stomach turns over, I shake. And I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, but there will be times in certain auditions where I will be reading with the reader, the camera will be there, and I'm just wondering if the camera can see that my face is shaking off my neck. It's ridiculous. That's just how nervous I am sometimes in the audition. But I know the signs and I know the formula to have a good audition. And when I start to see those signs, I start to loosen up. I start to own the audition process a little more. And the reward is getting to be on set, which is where, personally for me, I feel at home. I mean, once you're on set, you've been accepted into the club, you've been certified, and there's almost nothing that you can do to change that once you're on set. For me, being on set feels like at home. That's where I feel at home the most, is being on set. Just the entire process, the trailers, the production, the crew, just everything that goes into it. And having a little bit of experience as a producer, knowing what goes into that, I can appreciate it even more. But that's where I feel at home. The audition is where I feel alien. And so I want to give just a few basic tips to try to smooth that and remove some of the doubt from your mind. So here we go. First and foremost, I'm coming from the perspective of being asked to audition through the normal or the typical casting process, which is being submitted by my agent for a role based on a breakdown given by the casting director, which is provided to them by the director or producer of a film. If you don't have an agent yet, your path to an audition is much different. And I would love at some point, hopefully soon, to maybe talk about the different ways you can get into an audition, how you can build your resume if you don't have representation, if you don't have an agent, how to get in front of either casting directors or directors, build your resume and get auditioning and get this experience for yourself. However, what happens is you've got a film production, has a script, they bring on a producer, the producer packages and develops the film, brings on a director, they do development, then they do pre-production, and at some phase in the pre-production, they bring on a casting director, and that casting director gets a breakdown of all the characters. The director or one of the producers is responsible for providing the information, telling the casting director what each character is in terms of their age range, gender, if any, race, if any, and then their character types, the specifics of their character. And that's the information that we use as actors to build our audition on. So the first thing I want to let you guys know is that it doesn't matter whether you're coming in an audition. I started out with student films, okay? UT, RTF, some of the undergrad student films and the graduate student films, and there was another kind of independent Austin Filmworks, I think it was called at that time, and I would used to go to the Austin Chronicle and find auditions, and then I would just go audition, just building up my resume. But here's the thing. Once you are accepted, or once you've been called into an audition, what that means is that somebody wants to see you, okay? That should be the first measure of acceptance for you as an actor. As an actor, we're constantly looking for acceptance. We're constantly looking for approval. We're constantly looking for feedback that we're doing things right. If you've got an audition, that means you're doing at least something right. You fit a description, you fit a character, you fit a role, you fit a part in the script. Somebody's calling you in because they want to see you. So first and foremost, know that you're being given approval, you're being given authorization to come into their space and to own it for the brief time that you're there. So number one, if you have an audition, you already have approval and authorization. And that leads me to my second point. Once you walk into that room, and this is a bit of a cliche, but own the room, okay? I'm going to go back to this point here in a minute, talking about how to lead into the audition. But once you're there in that room, once you open that door, own that room. That time and that space is yours. And it's yours to do with what you intend to do with it. And there's lots of nuances, but let's take a step back. So you get the audition, and then there's the time in between getting the audition and actually walking into the audition, okay? You should ask for a script. If it's possible at all, get your hands on the script. Context means a lot. It seems to me in the past that productions were willing to provide the script for an actor, and then it went through the process of having to sign an NDA, and now sometimes it's kind of 50-50. Either you don't get the script or you do, and if you don't, you're only able to work with what you have in the sides that you're given, in the scenes that you're given to read for. So That being said, you've got the sides, and then you've got the character description or the breakdown. You have to take those things and you have to make some choices. Okay? So, in terms of preparation, do your best, given the fact that we all have lives, do your best to set everything else aside. Put everything else out of your mind. Stress will ruin your audition. And when it comes to an acting technique, when it comes to an audition technique, your technique is the method in which you calm yourself. And it's different for every actor. But one of the things that is a through line for every single actor is knowing your lines. Okay? Know your lines. And I'm going to get into this with another video in terms of how to break down your character, how to break down your scene. Okay? And this is, we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, okay? You want to break down the scene, you want to break down the scene, and you want to break down the character. You want to do as much work as you can to understand what's going on in the scene, the context, who these characters are, what they want, and build that whole world, that environment, all before you even commit the first line of dialogue to memory. You want to know the beats, the pauses, the emotions that are going on in that scene, and have an understanding of who wants what and where it's going and how it's supposed to happen and what's really important on an emotional level within that scene, and have a concrete understanding of all those things before you even commit the first line of dialogue to memory. Memorizing those lines should be the last thing you do. Now, that's homework from the time that you get the audition, you're provided the scene, to the time that you begin to commit the lines to memory, and then you have to have that time to commit those lines to memory. So, those two things, breaking down the scene, breaking down the character, sorry, I should say breaking down the scene, building the character, and then memorizing your lines. That should all be done well in advance. You should feel comfortable, very comfortable with the choices that you've made the night before you go into that audition, so that you have time to sleep on it. It can ruminate in your mind. You can dream on it. You may have some epiphanies or some ideas that come up between the time that you are prepared and the time that you actually walk into the room. Be on time, be prepared, and do the work. This is one thing that Larry Hovis, my acting mentor, drilled into our heads. Be on time, be prepared, and do the work. And it applies to auditions just as much as it does apply to being on set and working day to day on an actual film. So, you've been authorized to do your thing. You're prepared to do it. Now you walk into the room, and we're back to where we started. You gotta own that room, okay? Do all your preparation outside. Whatever it takes to kind of calm your nerves. A lot of times I will do push-ups. I will do an intense set of push-ups about 5-10 minutes before I actually go in. But that's given that I've shown up and signed in 20 to 30 minutes before I actually have to go into the room. Okay? If you're prepared, then you can put everything that you've done in terms of the work that you put into it, breaking down the scene, building the character, and memorizing the lines, and take that and just put it in your head. It's there. You have to be able to trust that it's just there in the back of your head. Because as soon as you walk into that room, even though you're owning it, you have a positive energy, you go in there, it's not ever going to be the exact situation that you imagined it. It is guaranteed something is going to throw you off. And it could be the fact that the casting director you've been reading for the last 10 years got a haircut and changed her hair color, and you don't recognize her anymore. And who is this person? Is she an LA casting director, or is she my local casting director? What am I doing here? Do I need some more time? And that could throw you off. So when you go in, own the room. okay? It's your time, it's your space, and you've been fully authorized to blow people's minds. And everybody in that room is supportive of you and is wanting you to do that, okay? There's no haters in the room, all right? Don't beat yourself up so much and don't hate yourself so much that you're gonna ruin your own chance, okay? Because nobody else in that room is gonna do that. We oftentimes as actors just get in our own way. So you walk in the room, logistically, this is what I recommend. You make eye contact, say hello, have a smile on your face, straight back, posture's good, look for your mark. I like walking into the room, acknowledging that people are there, but then looking for where it is that I'm going to do the thing that I'm just about to do. And don't talk to me, and I won't talk to you. I'm gonna go over here. I see a mark on the floor. I see the camera there. All right, I'm gonna take my space. I'm ready to go. And give me a moment to take a couple of breaths. And then do your thing, all right? A couple of don'ts. Do not wear any perfume or cologne, okay? I've been in casting directors' sessions, either working the camera or as a reader. Someone comes in with cologne, and you have a casting director that just instantly wants you out of the room as soon as possible. And that will kill your audition. Please wear deodorant, okay? But don't come in with perfume or cologne. It's a simple, easy thing, but I'm telling you, I've seen it from personal experience, and it has to go on my list of things not to do. Second thing, when you go in, don't schmooze and be starstruck. You may know that you're going in to read in an audition for a director that you love, a very prominent, maybe A-list director. This was my situation. The first breakout film that I had, the first big studio picture that I had, was with a prominent A-list director. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. But I go in the room, I own it, I acknowledge him, okay, he's there, but I'm here to do my job. Now, sitting on the other side of the camera, once again, working with casting directors and being in these sessions, I've seen actors come in, hey, what's up, how's it going? And they want to shake everybody's hand, and they want to make the small talk up front. They're trying to sell themselves based on their personality or their ability to be able to relate or their knowledge or appreciation or how much of a fanboy or fangirl they are over this particular director or producer or actor or whatever. No. If you have any conversation with the director, let it be after your performance. Let it be after your audition. Go in there, own the room. This is my space. This is what I came in here to do. Hi, nice to see you. Hello. Hi, everybody. Hope the day's going good. All right, it's my mark. All right. Just give me a couple of seconds. I like to walk around my mark 3 times as I'm breathing. If I have any questions, I'll ask them if they're important. But I'll typically go with my first choices, the choices that I've made when I was breaking down the scene, building my character and learning my lines. I was making some specific, bold choices. And this is going to be my next point of thing to do. Don't go in and schmooze. Don't do any small talk up front. Let your work speak for itself. If your work speaks for itself with the choices that you make, and the director is interested in seeing more, the next best thing that you'll get is a redirect. So the director will say, okay, it's good, I liked it, I like the thing you did there, or, you know, what I want you to do is try this. So the character is expressing this is happening. If you could, try to play it more this way or that way, okay? If you get a redirect in an audition, that is a great sign. That is a great sign. Every audition that I've ever had to direct, I've booked. Now, when you get your redirect, take a moment with it. If you have a question and you don't understand specifically what the director is asking for, clarify. Yeah, so, I'm thinking he wants to be a little bit more sad, but he doesn't hate the girl, but he's sad, but it's not breaking his, so, okay, well, can you clarify that for me? If there's a question, ask it. One question, 2 questions at the most, that's it. We're not trying to build a scene, we're not on set here, we're not trying to build a character together with the director. What we're doing is we're clarifying a redirect. Okay, this is an audition, we're not shooting the movie. It's just the audition. We're not actually on set shooting the movie. So take the redirect and make some different choices. One of the worst things that I see with actors when they do get redirect is that they don't change anything. They've made their choices, they stick with it, they're gonna read that scene the same way as they read it the 30 times before when they were practicing with it. Which, number one, indicates that you didn't make bold enough choices to stand out to begin with, but that also you're not adaptable to redirect to be able to give a different performance. And in the audition space, the director's not looking for the scene. We're not going to take the footage from the audition camera and go cut it into the movie. The director wants to know if you're directable, if you're adaptable. So show them that you are. Make bold choices when you go in to do your audition. One of the things, 2 things that I like to think about when I go in for an audition. I like to think about, number 1, what are 95% of the other actors going to do? How are they going to read this scene? And how can I do it differently? And the second thing is, how do I put in an oppositional or a contrasting emotion into this scene where normally a lot of people might not think it belongs? If it's a tragic scene, if it's sad and somber and tragic, I will find a specific moment where it makes sense and where it can be justified to have a chuckle, to have a laugh or a smile, If it's a funny scene, if it's a lighthearted scene, I might try to find a beat or a moment or a line or an emotional response in that scene where I might get a little teary-eyed, or I might get a little sad, or I might get a little serious. Directors like to see beat waves, roller coaster. So don't flatline your audition, right? I want to get into a lot more of the technical things when you're auditioning, and that's just in terms of positioning the camera, who you're reading to, different things like that. But look, guys, when you first of all, be on time, be prepared, do the work. Show up early. After all the preparation, put it in the back of your mind, trust that you know it. Walk into the room, own it. Greet people with your eyes. Take your space, do the work. If you're redirected, take that redirect and do something different. And then, if all that goes well, what you'll notice is that you'll be invited to have a conversation with the director. And that's when you can schmooze and shake hands just a little bit. Thank you for your time. Wish them all the best. Hope to see you soon.